All right, so what I did was I printed 4 copies of Dee Dee's picture, and this is just regular copy paper. Then what I did is cut them up. So one of them I cut the shape of the sun or the moon. This I'll use later. I'm going to set it to the side. And I cut my jelly print that I know I want to use. Then I gathered paper that I'm going to use for the butterfly, and I'm indecisive and will decide. So I cut some butterflies out, and I just cut random like the shape. They're not cut out of the paper yet. Then I cut out several of the flowers. Not all of them, but some of the major ones. And I gathered some jelly prints to potentially use for the flowers. But we're not there yet. So we'll get to this. And then I found 2 jelly prints I want to use for the background. So, one, we just need to decide which one we want to use. One is more subtle. It's kind of a silvery blue. It's a blue paper with bees on it. You can't really see the bees. And there's some PBO and some silver paint. Not a lot of contrast. It's a softer. The other one is got some blue and some rust on a jelly print, and there's more of a contrast. So the question is, if our butterflies, I'm leaning towards this for the butterflies. It's got pink and black and copper. It's a jelly print. This one's more purpley pink, but it's one of these two that I'm leaning towards. I just haven't decided, and I might cut both of them at the same time and kind of mix them. So there's this for the butterflies. I like this print on this, probably this on this. You know, one's a little softer than the other. Then I gathered some yellows and some oranges for the flowers. And I really kind of like this yellow with the blue and the gray and the pink. And then this yellow napkin could be used, and the dictionary print. And then I have a piece of phone book that is jelly printed that Kathy sent me. And my main idea was not all the flowers weren't necessarily going to be the same color. This has kind of got a yellow and an orange, and it has some green. And I thought some of the centers possibly. And this was another piece that was jelly printed that was yellow. So with that being said, do we lean towards the background on the left or the right? 1 or 2? I will tell you right now, my leaning is the brighter, because I'm probably going to use some watercolors or some ink tints on top of it, and I tend to think more the bright colors. Because this is softer, and I think this background might just disappear. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, this is a recording of a live stream, and I am talking to real people in the chat. If our chat bothers you, just fast forward and jump forward. So what do we kind of think? 1 or 2. One is on my left, or 2. I think I'm leaning towards 2. Shauna agrees with me. I think the colors pop on this brighter. Okay, this can get put up for another day. It's not like it's going to waste. And I just went in and pulled from my drawers like we did the other day. And I want to start with the background first. So I'm going to set the flowers and the butterfly stuff to the side for right now. And this is the other part. I had the picture printed on watercolor paper too. I went to FedEx Kinko's and I couldn't make it go through the copy machine, the laser copier, because I didn't have like an access key to change the type of paper. I don't know, I couldn't make it work. So I went to the desk and said, "Can you print this?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I printed it on watercolor, and then I took my scissors and I cut out everything behind the frame so that the paper will get glued in the background. And this little circle right here and right here will tell me where to glue the moon, so I can, or the sun, whatever you're doing it as. I'm doing mine more as a moon. And then all I have to do is kind of get it positioned the way I want it. And turn it. So it just took patience. It would have been easier if I had a good X-Acto knife, but my X-Acto knife is gunked up with stuff on the edge, and I don't have a new blade. I should have bought blades when I was at Hobby Lobby. All right, so what I'm going to do is lift this straight off, because I have the moon where I need it to go. And I'm going to get the moon glued down. Where it goes. Now, I'm not interested in watercoloring the moon or letting the paper of the moon absorb or changing the color of the background. So I'm going to put a coat of gel medium everywhere on this paper, and I want it fairly wet, because I'm also going to put gel medium on the back of the watercolor paper so that I can match it up. And the main thing I need to do is match up where the circle sits. Let's see if we can. Now, I don't want to get a lot of glue on the top of the watercolor paper, because I don't want to, in fact, I need that. I'm going to have that flip forward for a few minutes. I don't want to I just want to line the circle up. Okay. And like I said, I don't want, I'm going to take a wet wipe and use that to kind of smooth it down in places. Because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want the glue on the top right now. Okay. And I'm going to flip it over and kind of just apply some pressure from the back. And I'm going to let that sit and dry. And we'll work on the butterflies and the flowers. And I will tell you the other thing I need to do is I'm going to have to add back some of the like curly cues and some of the stuff that I cut out in the center with the black pen. So but I'm not worried about the outside because I didn't do anything damage to that on the watercolor. So I'm going to just cut around the outside of the frame. So I can use that as a reference point when I go to add some of that back in. So I'll save that. So that gives me my reference for what I cut out, so I can add some stuff back in. You know, I could have probably had it cut using my Cameo. I've not used my mat. I think it would have been hard to get it to go in. You have to go in and tell it what you want it to cut. Okay, so the question is which of these papers we like. I kind of lean towards this because it's just got more variation in color, and these are softer. I like this metallic in here. This has some metallic, but I lean towards this. So I think this is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to worry about, I'm not putting paper on the outside where the circles are. And I'm not putting paper where the body is. So I'm just cutting out the inside of the wings. And I consider this kind of more like paper piecing. And if you have a hard time cutting like this, you can use repositional glue. Okay, so I'm going to set those to the side. This is trash. And let's get rid of this paper. Back into the drawer. Alright. And On this one, I'm going to cut it in half because, again, like I said, I'm just cutting. It'll be easier for me to handle the two parts. And I'm only looking for that inside, so I just got to make sure that I'm not worried about this polka dotted part. Okay. So there's that wing. Cutting out the body part. And then all right. Get rid of that trash. Let's get our, I'm going to switch to a smaller glue brush. All right, let's get this kind of where we want it, and then we'll zoom the camera in. All right, that's probably about as close as I'm going to get it where you guys are going to. All right, now I don't want to get the glue on the watercolor paper, so I took my wet brush and made sure that it wasn't like too drippy, and I'm just going to get some glue and put on the back of the paper. I want it to stick, but I don't want glue everywhere else. Because I do want the watercolor or ink tints, whatever we decide to use. Is Eileen here? We might use ink tints, Eileen. Kind of weird, there's a little bit of the body that we may have to add back in. And I've got a little bit right here I want to snip off. Okay. Get rid of those. But I'm going to save them because I'm going to use them later. So I'm not ready to trash them, but I'm going to put them to the side. Okay. How the frame is glued to the back of this already because this paper on the back was bigger than the opening of the frame. I'm not gluing this frame, Travis. I'm not gonna put paper for the, I cut it out, but then I realized no, I didn't want to do that. So I'm not talking, when I say the frame, I'm not talking the little frame. So it'll be a combination of collage and watercolor. And this paper will take watercolor to some degree. Yeah, but at first I did cut this out as a I don't have it anymore. I threw it away. I did cut this out and I thought about getting like another print, but then I realized how much I was going to have to decompose, and I didn't want to do that. So I decided, oh, I just would watercolor or paint. And so when I'm talking about the frame, I'm just mentioning this whole thing in that sense, not that little inner frame. Okay. All right. So we're done with that. I'm going to put that back in the water. I'm going to set this back over to dry because this is still pretty tacky in the middle. All right. And now some of the decision making. These are minor flowers that are like on the corners. And then I've got the two major. I know I want to use some dictionary print with this over it because the yellow will show up but the print will go behind and then come back in. I'm not worried about the stems, so I'm not worried about cutting off the stems. But I think like this flower I'll do in this solid paper. And this is the same stencil as this tissue. So I think, and I like the fact that it's kind of gradiated from and it's on matte paper. So I'm going to stick with where it's darker at the bottom and light. And I think I'm going to switch scissors. And this is where the patience comes in. And I will tell you also, I find it easier if I'm working with a smaller paper. And if you turn the paper when you're cutting, I think it's better than trying to turn your scissors. So I know it's hard to see me cut. I don't usually cut on camera because you have to pull things up towards you and you can't always see. It's kind of like what Jennifer says with working on the miniatures. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to cut that and set it to the side. And I'm going to get rid of the trash as we go. If I get rid of the trash, if I get rid of the trash as we go, it helps. This bigger piece I'm going to do in the newsprint, but I also want the napkin. And again, there's some color variation. So I'm going to kind of, this is darker, so I think I like that area right there. And I'm going to cut down the paper and get rid of some of the excess so I'm not fighting extra paper in my hand. And I'll switch back. And so I'm going to cut both of these the same, so they're the same cut. Alright, and then I'm going to get rid of, and I will tell you with the paper, it makes it a little easier to cut on with the napkin. It's kind of like when you're sewing and you have slippery material. You can use paper on top and bottom of the slippery material, and it gives it more stability. Or you can also buy that stuff that you wash and it disappears to help make it more stable when you're sewing. So that's kind of how the cutting the napkin and the paper actually together is more beneficial. And the main thing is just kind of make sure that you're not letting it shift. And you could use a clip to clip it, like a little bull nose clip, something that wouldn't get in your way. Small paper clip, just to keep it from shifting. And you'll see I keep getting rid of this little bit. It just helps me. Hi, Lori. Did you have a good day at work? And we'll watch the time. Once I put this together, the flowers, the rest of it will go. So that I want to make sure that, yeah, I've used it on both parts, CB, where I've done it on the top and the bottom when I was like making, using like a satin, a crepe bake satin to make a formal gown, or if you're sewing with chiffon, it's real lightweight. But that's kind of the same concept. And even if you're not going to use the paper on the project you're doing, when would you not have, I mean, if I decided not to use this flower of the paper, I could always use that in another piece because it's a flower. The other thing I do sometimes is just take and come different ways and take out little pieces. If you have a place that's tough that you can't get in, you can come from both directions. Okay, so let's set that aside. Let's get rid of that trash. All right. I know I want a flower with these. And I think I definitely want a flower with these, unless we want these to be the centers. But I'm thinking about making the watercolor the center, to be honest. Okay. So, get rid of that extra paper. I'm not sure. Maybe we just want them all yellow. And then use this for Oh, good. You know what let's do? Let's glue what we have on and then decide about these 4 flowers. Because the ones that I'm not putting paper on, I'm going to watercolor and use the ink tints. Okay, so let's the glue brush back. And again, I'm using a small glue brush because I don't want the glue coming out. I want to get a good coat on the paper, but I don't want it coming out on the watercolor. Okay, so there's that. Now this will have to glue in 2 layers. We'll glue the dictionary paper. And then we'll have to put, we'll put a little bit of water. I want it real wet. And I'm just going to put some gel medium. And then I'm going to take our tissue. And trying to line up the bottom. It's a little off. I actually don't hate it. I think when I put the details in, that one tore off. And we can just glue it back down. Okay, so the question is, do we want like bright yellow and orange? Like a mixture of yellow and orange? Or do we want all the flowers just to be yellow? I'm leaning. We cut out the yellow ones because I know I want the yellow ones. I'm going to use the bigger flowers. Could do the dictionary and tissue again on the smaller ones. Or just the dictionary and no tissue. See, the paper's getting in my way, so I'm just going to cut it off. So I'm looking to see what y'all think. Yeah, yellow and orange are all yellow. I also thought about if I did yellow and orange, I could watercolor a few of the Gerbers in like a bright pink. I think I'll put the dictionary print for the other two, because then we have choices whether we make them orange or pink or yellow when we go to watercolor. And then I don't have to decide. But I was leaning towards possibly multicolored. All right. Get rid of that extra. See, I think yellow, orange, and a bright pink would be pretty. Because, you know, a lot of times when you get bouquets of Gerbers, they come in all different colors. I don't think Dee Dee won't dislike the fact that I'm cutting her picture up, I hope. Jennifer wanted me to. I don't really color. I could have just watercolored it like Jean. But Jennifer Crack Minis wanted me to try collaging it. When I said something about collaging it, she was like excited about the idea of how it would come out in a collage. And you could do this with a color book page if you made copies of it. Maybe even a simpler design. I'm just coming back on a couple of these. It's a way to use your jelly prints. You could get, if you had a more like a children's color book where it was simple shapes, you could get a stained glass kind of look with your jelly prints. Okay, I didn't think she would either, but then I got to thinking, I hope she doesn't think I'm butchering it. All right. Dictionary paper. Rid of that extra paper. The other thing I want to do is I want the words to be right side up for some reason, so I'm going to make sure I put the flower where the words are basically right side up. Okay. This is the last we'll cut. Then it'll be switched to the watercolor. We'll decide what we're going to use. Got ink tints, Zig clean color markers. Might use a combination. I'm just trimming extra paper off and then going from the left and the right to kind of get these points out. Okay, here's one more to do. Now you could focus on like what the words were that were underneath, but I didn't, you know, they weren't really big enough to worry about it. Like I didn't worry about what page of the dictionary I pulled out. I just pulled a page that I already had in my stash. And I'm not worried if I cut slightly inside the line at all, because I'm going to go back around with some pin work on some of this. And put back some of the details. Actually, before we watercolor, I'm going to put back some of the details. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay. Get rid of that trash. Get our print back over here. Okay, that one goes there. Now that one did get some gel medium on the top from the mat. But I'm just going to take a damp baby wipe and smooth it down, and some of that will come off. It'll still take watercolor in places. I just shifted it when it was on the table and let it shift. There we go. Don't take much glue for the ones in the newsprint. Okay. Get rid of the glue brush. Go ahead and put the lid on the glue. Need a pin. Let me get rid of the paper pieces that are extra. Don't need the moon. So the first thing I'm going to use is a small piece of graphite, and I'm going to take and match up the wings. Then I'm just going to take the pen and just trace some of the lines. Just to give me some of that back. Get rid of that one. May need to use a different piece of graphite. Let's see. That body. Put that leg back in. Okay. That's, you probably can't see it on camera. It's a 3. I think I want the 5. I'm going to add these black lines back in. And this is where I'm going to use this as a reference just to make sure getting Dee lines back in. Oh, that's going to end up being black. So I'm going to I can use this piece to make sure that I get it in where I want it. I'm actually thinking about switching to a heavier marker. going to use this black right here in there and kind of put some of the black line back around the paper. Yeah, that's a little easier for me to use with my wrist. Okay. And then this comes up like this. And then I'm gonna come in and enhance the legs and the antenna. And some of that I'm going to do when I do this. And I will tell you that my plan is to put black in here around the circles. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in with black. Okay. Let me, and I may not finish this tonight. Let me zoom in, because I know it's hard to see what I'm doing on that butterfly. And we'll just have to keep shifting the paper. But I'll tell you, like this butterfly, I'm not sure I need to even add any watercolor to the print. I think it'll be watercolor to the dots here. So kind of gives you a, it looks very, yeah, I may add some magicals, to be honest with you, Button. Some magicals here and there towards the end to give it some shimmer is definitely one of the thoughts that I had, is to take and hit like some of the wings and maybe the center of the flowers. Now if I'd watercolored this end, I think what I would have had to do was like a light color wash over everything and then come back in with something dark on the dots. That would have been another option. But I knew I wanted black. And then we'll let that dry and then we'll hit that with watercolor or Kiritaki markers. Okay, so let's take the other wings. I'm going to get a different piece of graphite that's a little darker. I think it'll work a little better. Okay. So I'm lining up that end of the paper, and then I'm going to shift so I can get this side lined up. Then I can kind of scoot that paper in there to get a good, I don't have the transfer paper down there, but if I get it going, and I get the lines up here that I need, I think I can shift it or finish them. Okay, I shift that paper just a little bit more. I will tell you, this writing still is difficult with my hand. Okay. This one's not wanting to shift. So what I'm going to do is lay it back down here and then tuck it on this side. Okay, that works for that. I think I'll do the same thing on this one. I think it'll be faster. Let's match it up on this side. Tuck it under as far as I can. I will tell you, I'm using a ballpoint pen so I can see where I've gone. Using a red ballpoint pen is another thing I like to do because I can see where I've been and where I have not been. Okay, so we got the butterfly wings done. I'm going to do this too real quick. This isn't for anybody, it's just Dee Dee's coloring page. I don't know what I'll do with it when I'm done. It was just for the fibcoloralong. Now this is a circumstance where the red would help if you had a red pen. Because I'm having a hard time seeing where I went and where I didn't go on some of this. Okay, so that gives me my basic. I don't want to come in with the super thick one on this. In fact, what I'll probably end up doing is coming in with the Kiritaki. Then I'm just adding some of those lines back in that Dee Dee had. So I can see her original. All right, I'm going to go back to the Bic, and I'm going to switch to a different. This is a small brush. I think I'll have a little bit better control over it. I said that, but now I'm not sure. I like it. I think I liked the pressure I could apply with this one. Okay. If I had better dexterity with my hand, I probably would vary. Bye, CB. It's recorded, so I'll upload it. You could vary the width line on some of that better, probably. And I could probably hit the circles a little bit better. This will finish the butterflies other than the magicals, which we'll do at the end. I need to check time how I'm doing. We have about an hour, I guess, before gin. Okay. Sure, I'm sort of staying in camera. I'm sorry if it falls out. Try not to run the marker over the circle of the outside of the butterfly. Just kind of tracing around the circles and then filling in the space. Okay. All right. What we need to do is finish this little part outside and the antennas. We can move on to the other flowers. I'm not sure what I want to do for that that little frame. And the outside, I think I'm going to do a blue wash. But I'm not sure what I want to do for this frame here. I will tell you, my instinct is to go black, because I knew that the flowers would pop. But I do know that the butterflies would then blend, so I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. Okay, so let's get this big flower in the center. I'm just going to hold it here on the bottom and tuck my graphite up under as much as I can. I know I want that center. I'm not worried about the lines in the middle of the petal. That we can do with the watercolor, like darken, and I think might use the ink tints for some of that. I'm really not sure. I'm leaning towards the ink tints and the markers rather than the palette. Okay. Oh, I'm going to line it up here again and try to finish this little bottom part. Okay. Then I'm going to take my pen. Sorry if my hand's blocking it. Okay, there's that flower. Let's do this flower. Okay. I'm just putting those sketchy lines kind of back in. Okay. For that flower. Thanks, Kimberly. Halfway done with your school, Kimberly? Is that what you... Okay, there's that. Then we just have these two up here. The flowers are a little faster because I don't have to move the rubber pen. I don't have to move the tissue because I'm just going from the center. Not going all the way to the end. Come back in. The pen, black pen. And I know I need to come on the ends of some of these, but it's not wanting to. I'm probably going to wait till I'm done watercolor and then come back. Okay. Last little flower. Okay. Okay, and then. Alright, so we got all those traced. We need to add back some curly Q stuff on the inside. So what I'm going to do is take a bigger piece. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some, because this is a bigger piece. Halfway done with school. That is good. I'm going to take some painter's tape so I can lift and check how I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is line up corner to corner. And line this up. And I'm just going to create like a hinge. And then I'm going to stick the graphite under. Now I'm not worried like the line on the moon. I'm just looking for things like, I know the antennas were gone. I know that that little curly Q kind of was there, was gone. And the antenna's here. And curly Q's here. Curly Q's here. There really weren't that many that I cut out. I don't think I even cut that ladybug out. No, I didn't. I didn't lose that ladybug. Very little I lost in reality. Just a few. Mainly the antennas. Okay. So then I'm going to just come back in with the pen. Make sure it's... I'm going to use that. Okay, and there's the other. I know these don't show up for you guys. They're even a little hard for me to see. And I'm not going to worry about if they're exactly, just trying to give the feeling that it continued off the paper. Okay. The antenna were the main things. Got this down here. Got this one here. There's a little line from here to here. Line from there to there. And then a little heavier marker than I probably wanted, but it works. Now I'll carefully move that, remove that. So that kind of, the stuff that I missed from the inside, don't think I need that anymore. Alright, let's get the... Bye, Bunny. Alright. I need water. So let me pour some water in my glass. Get rid of some of this stuff to the side. Out of the way. Alright. Brush. Water brush. This water brush is empty. Put some water in this. I haven't used this one yet. There's no water in it. Alright. Let's get a piece of clean acetate. Well, it's got some turquoise watercolor on it, but that doesn't matter. And you know what? I may go ahead and get my palette and spray it, because it might be actually faster to hit some of these areas with the yellows and the oranges and the magenta. Alright, so let's try permanent yellow deep is what I'm gonna start with in some, but I also wanna, I know I want magenta. Okay, I think I'm gonna start with, away from the butterfly, I want like a little pink. So I want this magenta in here. I'm gonna put that layer in. And then maybe over here. I'm not sure. I'll need to back the camera out because I'm too close. I think that's, if I move my water. And I move that up. I think you can see well enough. And I'm just putting in an initial layer of some magenta. And I think I'll come up here. It's 3. And I think I'll do this one. Right, and I'm not even going to clean my brush. I'm going to go into this orange and coral mixture. And let's take one of these with the print. Let that soak in. Get a paper towel. And I think I'll come in with that where this yellow is. I'm going to block that because I want some of the yellow to show on that one. I think I'm going to block this too. And let's see. Let's come in right here. Maybe right here. And then I'm going to get some yellow while I still have a little bit of that. And I'm going to get some magenta. No, don't like that. It went too brown. Alright, I like the orange and the yellow. Trying to lighten it. Get it brighter. Just a little bit of a different color of orange. Now I will say it does want to resist where the ink from the printer was. It kind of beads up where that came off the copier. Okay, I'm gonna hit that with the orange. And I think I'm gonna go back to that coral color. Wish I had a copper. I think that's what I want to put in those circles. And I may change it with the Kuretake a little bit. Alright, clean my brush. Go to the yellow. Let's hit this with the yellow. And again, I want it light enough so you can still see. Let me add some water to that. I want it light enough you can still see the print from the tissue and the newsprint or dictionary print behind it. Now the other thing I could have done was I could have I'll try to lift some of that. Yeah, I like that better. I could have, I'm gonna flip that around. I could have put gel medium everywhere and not used the watercolor paper. Though I like the thickness of the watercolor paper, it holds the collage. Okay. Let's go in here and do the dots on this one. But I could have used the Pip pens over the gel medium too. That would have been an option instead of the watercolor. Okay. Let's do the vines. And I'm just doing a bright line. In fact, I even want it a little more yellow. I'm just putting the first layer of watercolor down everywhere. Putting a little green on the body. And then I think I'm going to come in with kind of a reddish brown for the body on this butterfly. All right. Getting some green in some of the centers. And then I'm going to come back in too and darken those, I think. Yeah, about 30 minutes. Okay. Kind of keep me on track, Dot. All right. I'm thinking the blues in the background here, like the sky. And I'm not going to worry about it at an exact match. And I'm also not going to worry if it's kind of blotchy, because I may come in and kind of give it that. I have to turn a fan on. I am dying here. Let's try. I like that blue a little better. turning that. Wet some water. Come in kind of with both colors. So I have sort of a mixture. Around the flowers here a little bit. Blot. Also need to remember to hit those little ladybugs. Okay. And you can take your time more. I'm just working fairly quickly so I can kind of finish up. I'm just trying to finish up so we're done in time for Jen. Okay. Now the frame. I am still at a loss. Okay, let's come in. Just add a little color on one side. the stems kind of. With the markers, and then just kind of blend it out. All right, let's add just a little bit of green up here. I'm just going to turn it so it's a little easier to reach. Okay. I don't have Payne's gray, but I thought about gray on the frame. I thought about a purple on the frame. Could go with the brown color. I do have gray markers. In fact, one of the things I want to do on the moon is I want to take some of the pit and kind of highlight. Should have done this before I glued it. It's not that this stuff is shadowing the moon. I just want to make the line a little more prominent. Okay. Yes, I see it. Down here, I missed, and up there it's too light. Let's keep working on the flowers. I'm leaning towards a brown for the frame, possibly. Let's try. I'm gonna put a little of this on the. I'm gonna pick it up with the brush. It's not as bright. I think I want to come in with this brighter coral orange color. And I think I'm going to come in with more of a brown in here. Just hitting these with a little bit of a brown center. This is not making me happy. So what I'm going to do is put a coat of the paper tissue. Needs more gel medium. It's too rough right now. It's not giving me a smooth enough surface. So I'm going to put some gel medium and let that dry, and then come back with the pit pens. Just on the where the tissue is. And then we'll just let that dry. All right. Let's find that. Well, here's a magenta color. Let's use it. I'm gonna blend. Blend that marker out there. I like that more vivid color. And then when it dries, it'll be a little two-tone. Just hitting one side, sort of. Okay. And then I'm just hitting them with a damp brush. Okay. Let's try this yellow over here. Yeah. Hitting the brighter yellow on these. And this is a bright yellow. That just gives some highs and some lows. And I want to come in with a kind of a coral color on this one. Okay. That's too much of a match for those. So let's see if we can find something a little darker, but still bright. This is a Cambion red. Let's try that. Still not very, it's a little more contrast here. I'm going to darken it in the middle on this one. But I'm going to try what's a brown? I don't want a brown. I'm going to try wine red. Yeah, that gives me a little more contrast. Pull out on some of these. Just will brighten it up. Still not getting this bright as I want it. Okay. Let's try what this does. I'm going to put really heavy and then pull it out. Kind of like the coral color I'm getting. I'm losing some of the yellow, but I'm not really too concerned about that. Okay. Okay. like that. And I think what I want to do is just give it a little spray and then come back and just lift a little of it. Yeah, I am going to bring out the butterfly, but I think I want to do it with magicals. But I can hit it with a little of the magenta. Actually, I think I'm going to put a little magenta out here on these circles too. This watercolor is really beading up on this paper here. Knock back some of the okay. So let's get out the magicals. Let's get rid of that and that. Oh, I need the frame. That's what we're going to do on the... I think that's what I'm going to do. Let me get this back. I'm going to get this brown wet. And I'm going to put a... kind of a reddish brown in. The frame for right now. Alright, Dot. I'll put a picture on Twitter. Oop, I almost got our little ladybug friend there. And I'm not really worried about it being splotchy. I actually like that. Feeling. Alright, before I forget, let's get our little ladybug red. We'll come back in with the black. Were there 3 ladybugs? Yes. Okay. So, I think what I want to do is copper on the frame, the magicals, and which is purple, and maybe a little Hogwarts orange. And what I'm going to do is take the tip of a palette knife and just put some on the table, mix it in my brush, and I'm just going to come in and let some puddle in some areas. You probably won't be able to see it on the camera very well, but I'm just going to let this copper, and I'm even going to hit like the center of that flower. Hit his body. Excuse me. Is Jen on yet? Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing. And I have a little bit of copper here. I'm not even going to worry about it. And I'm going to take this purple. And I'm going to put just a little bit of the purple down where I had the copper. And get a wet brush. Add a little water to that. Don't care if it mixes with this copper a little bit. I'm going to put this in places on the ladybug. I mean the butterfly wings. And it's darker now, but it will. And then let's come over here. Let that dry. And then I think I'll put some of that here and there on these pink flowers. And I'm going to take a little water and kind of soften that out and blot it. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is I'm clean that up. Rinse my brush, and I'm going to get a little bit of the Hogwarts orange. No, it was a cough. Not really sick or anything. Alright, put some water in that. Clean clean my brush. Get in this orange, which has got some teal in it. I'm gonna let it do its thing out here. Kind of bleed. I think I'm going to hit some of these with a layer. I even think I'm going to hit these a little bit. I'm not going to actually leave any of these flowers yellow, truly yellow. I think I like them with the brighter color. Alright, then I'm going to blot this a little bit. And that should be shimmery when dry. And then I need to sign my name. Dee Dee signed on this side. And I think I'll put mine just right here. Alright, let's close that magical up. Move those out of the way. That in the water. The only thing I'll say is I'm not sure that my moon was my best choice. I mean, it's interesting paper. Let me give it a little dry. Okay, and let's see if I hold it up. Can you see the bluish shimmer on the wings? You probably can't see the copper shimmer on the... It shows up the most on the butterflies. The magical shimmer. But if you look up close there, you do see... If you look up close, you see it. When it's dry, the last thing I'll probably do is I'll probably come back in and hit possibly some black lines with like the number 8 or the number 5 on a couple of these. But this needs to be drier before it'll handle that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video.